Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Welcome to Guardian Radio A.M. Today is Tuesday. I'm not sure what happened to Monday, but apparently today is Tuesday, May 30th, and it's a little after 11 o'clock in the morning. Once again, this is CA Newry. I have never said my full name on the air before. Anyway, this is CA Newry, and I shall be your host for today as we have a discussion with members from the Marjorie Davis Institute for Society
Special Education.
I always get the name mixed up. And mind you, this is the second time you've been here, and I'm always excited when you come here because it's an educational process for me. But I need people to understand the importance of the institution and some events that you happen to be having here, right? And I want to tie that all into my overarching conversation we have today. So even though you've been here before, right? What is the Marjorie Davis Institute? And why is it so important that I can always, when you call and say, Nuri, I'm doing something, why is it my come? Why is it that important? Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm from the Marjorie Davis Institute for Special Education.
You ain't tell me your names then. Mr. Rowell, you got to go with your name and your position first.
See, I'm so excited and so ready?
I know.
Okay, I'll calm down. So my name is Zen Rowell. I'm the principal of the Marjorie Davis Institute for Special Education. They laugh because I went to say Zen Forbes, but I got to put on that role.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm the principal of the Marjorie Davis Institute for Special Education, and we focus on mild to moderate students with disabilities. So the students that come from the various school population or the general population, they would have been identified from the Special Service section of the Ministry of Education, and they refer them to us so that they can get some sort of intervention. It could be academic as well as mild behavioral.
And I can stop you right there because I want people to understand why I'm always open and able to welcome you back on the show, right? Basically, your institute is for special need children, right? And these will be children who the general regular school, has identified a child, say, hey, this child needs some help, some additional support, right? And that there exists a program, and that which is your program, that when the teachers have identified that this particular child needs some special help, that they will then recommend them to your school. That's what you're saying.
Okay.
And that's why you're so important. And now I can start this conversation because I need the Bahamian people to realize that an institution exists that people can seek help for.
And let me just extend. Sometimes when we have special education, we get a little bit flustered. So what it is, any child experiencing difficulties in the general population, they may not be labeled autistic. And then again, we do have some students with autism. So it's open up to any child who could benefit from the intervention. And we try to strengthen their literacy, their numeracy, even their communication skills. And even for them writing on the board, the grapheme. And social skills is a big area. The pandemic would have interrupted some of those hidden rules or things that kids would pick up from the home. We didn't socialize as much. And so we find that the kids now, we're spending a bit more time teaching them social skills. So anything that would interfere from their success in the general population, and they can get from us, say, short term, then they would come to us. And when I say short-term intervention, Marjorie Davis is the only short-term intervention outside of school. The long-term would be like Stapleton Center for the Deaf, School for the Blind. So special services would identify kids who needed short-term, and then, they probably could get minimal support at the school level once they would have passed through Marjorie Davis.
And explain that step. I'm in school, I have behavioral problems. I acting up, disrupting the class. And what happens from a teacher point of view, principal point of view, to get to your school, the principal, and then your team assist the child for a 6-month period stint or something like that? What's the process for that?
Okay, so that's a good question, and that's just one avenue. Now, Marjorie Davis catered to early intervention, so we catered to kids from grade 1 to 3, although the last time we spoke about our pilot program catering to upper primary. So I'll explain for the early intervention. Now, in some cases, grade 1, 2, you would, a child might experience some difficulty with concentration, attending, and it may present itself like a behavioral challenge. And that teacher would usually refer to the guidance counselor, and of course the guidance counselor will go through the steps for referral, and then that information will go to special services. Now, special services will have to tell you exactly how they operate, but an evaluation is done. At the end of the evaluation, they will look at the best placement, and if Marjorie Davis is a place where the child can benefit from a short term, say, okay, this child just probably need some foundational skills in literacy or numeracy, or probably this child might need some early preschool skills, and then they would be able to manage in grade 1, 2, or 3. They would be referred to Marjorie Davis. Also, too, there's something called the Bahamas National Screener, where the psychologist, once again, from special services would assess all the grade 1 students, and they could speak more to that. And I guess red flag concern, they would follow the other steps and recommend those students fitting the descriptors to come to Marjorie Davis.
Okay, I need a number for someone from special services now, so I can actually invite them and hash out what's the process. But go ahead.
You could ask for Miss Sharon Clark in special services, and I guess she would provide that further assistance.
Well, go ahead. So now the child is in your institution. What happens there?
Okay, so once that child would have been recommended to Marjorie Davis, our first step really is trying to locate that child. And we usually would consult with the school they're at and try to reach out to the parent. The main part of our journey is to consult with that parent so that we could offer consultation. Because sometimes it's like a big shock for parents to understand, why is it my child needs the assistance? Why is it my child can't get this assistance at their school? And so we usually do a little short, and we would do that in July. We would do a little back and forth with parents, getting them to understand the whole idea of special education, getting them to understand that there's not so many of us to go to each school, hence why their child come to Marjorie Davis. And once the parent would have given permission, we would enroll that child at the center. And our first opportunity we get with the child, we do what we call formal, informal assessment. And by the second or third, we would do a formal assessment to see the literacy, the numeracy, and even within those informal settings, we're looking at their social behavior, trying to see what it is we need to design what we call an IEP, that's individual educational plan, where we would write the various goals for that child. In some cases, kids may only need more social. In many cases, their behavioral concern would be needed to address, and you will find that they can obtain and grasp those concepts. And so that's why I really, maybe because I'm a behavior, is dear to my heart, but if you fix the behavior, then you will have that student being able to receive what is given. And in understanding that behavior, you're trying to figure out how they receive that information and how they're going to express that information.
Okay, that's Zen Roll, who's the principal at the Marjorie Davis Institute and for special needs. I said right this time, right?
Yes.
And how do we finance this? And I'm going now to your project, what you plan. But I know it's a government-sponsored school, financed school, right? I'm right with that? No? Yes? No?
Yes, it is a government school.
But I know you're limited in terms of resources, right?
So it is a government school. We do have a school board, but the school board is very small, is able to take, and the school board take care of the building. However, we do not have a running tuck shop like some big schools to take care of the other little personal things that we want to provide for our kids. And so we come together where we would have tried the little fun days, we would have tried some little mini fairs, and so we wanted to do something in a different light, hence the Harmony Ball. We want to solicit funds for the ball so that we could provide a lot of things for our kids. Anyone who's been in the field of special education know that you need a lot of hands-on, you need a lot of resources, especially with literacy. It serves no purpose if you're going to teach children the skills if they do not have the level books or my colleague helped me, and she's a classroom teacher, Miss Ariel Seymour, who would share more what she do with the kids in terms of literacy and numeracy. And so one of my challenge is providing that resources for my teachers to just go through their intervention program. Even with the math, you need a lot of hands-on again, and live experiences. Sometimes you cannot take the kids to the scene, but you can bring the scene to the classroom. So it's just recreating those realistic
experiences.
Thank you so much. Experiences to the kids, and I would allow my colleague to add.
Go ahead, Ms. Seymour, because I still want to know what the Harmony Ball is all about. But before that, because you already passed it over to Ms. Seymour, right? Ms. Seymour, what is it that you do? And then we can just pivot right to this Harmony Ball and what you're trying to accomplish. Why is it so important? And when is this Harmony Ball?
Great. I'll keep it sweet and to the point. Mm-hmm. So as an intervention specialist, basically what we do, we meet the students where they're at. Based on the results that we get from the assessment team, we then go say, okay, this child, for example, Mr. Newry, is reading at a K.4 level. So instead of me trying to force him to read at a third grade level, we're going to meet him at the K.4 level, and we're going to challenge him to grow, and we're going to get him to go ahead and grow at his progress eventually to the third grade level. Now, that's a big jump, don't get me wrong, but that is the goal of special education, which is basically differentiation. We meet you where you're at, and then we go ahead and we provide an individualized education platform for you as a child, for you to grow and for you to fall in love with
learning. I understand that. Basically building blocks until you at the stage you're
bridging the gap. You're bridging the gap.
But let's talk about the Harmony Ball.
Okay.
Right?
So now, the Harmony Ball now comes in place of the concept is that Marjorie Davis, we do an excellent job. I will not ever knock that down. But things tough.
Things are tough.
And we need the resources to be able to run as a school, run our classrooms, and basically give cutting-edge resources that we want for our students. And so the concept of the the Harmony Ball came in, and so I'll just pass that back on to Ms. Rowe, and I'll just go in as we need it.
I like the Marjorie Ball too, but anyway, Harmony Ball, go ahead.
So the Harmony Ball is in honor of our school patron. So it's the Marjorie Davis Legacy Award.
Okay.
So the whole idea of the ball is to look at the past up to the present. And so even though we're asking for support, we also want to honor those who would have paved the way in special education. So we had about 12 honorees. 8 would have committed to participating. And so we're going to take our audience on a past adventure with special education throughout the Bahamas. And we hope that we would sort of sell special education in a different light, so that if your child is referred for any special education program, it's something that you accept and not shy away. So there are several goals which we want to accomplish with this ball. One, not just to solicit funds, we want to recognize those who would have paved the way in special education, and also teach the public or sensitize the public about special education on the whole. We find that we had in the past some kids did not come to Marjorie Davis because their parent still had a little feeling of that word special ed. Mm-hmm. And later on, probably a year or two later, they came back, Ms. Rule, is it too late for my child to be a part? By that time, it really was. Mm-hmm. And so we realized that we need to continue advocating for our students who are having difficulties so that we could bridge the gap between this separation and promote inclusion. So that's another goal of the Harmony Ball, is to promote inclusion, and not just inclusion in school, inclusion in
society.
One of the, I want to be very careful how I say this. Sometimes we find that kids would have been struggling throughout their educational journey, wherever they may go, private, public, whatever. And then we expect them to be a productive citizens. And so I look at that burden that's all of us failed to educate that child in any which way. And so that's one of our reasons for, really focusing on special education, because we think it's just for kids who have been labeled autistic or mental retarded. We call it intellectual disability now. But there are many of us do not wear labels where we need that support. I need support. In fact, if I'm not organized, you're going to find that I have a difficult time. I know somewhere along the line where attention is my difficulty. And so now we have to recondition the whole environment, society, that, hey, it's all right that you need support. So we want students and everyone to look at what it is that I'm good at and what it is I need some assistance. And it's all right to get that support to be successful, really.
So when is the Harmony Ball, and what do you want from the general public?
Okay, so the Harmony Ball is this Saturday, June 3rd, at the Police Conference Hall. It's at 7 p.m. And what we want from the general public is just to purchase our tickets. You're going to have a nice experience. I don't think it's like any other ball. Well, Harmony. We're going to have a program. The program anticipates to be an hour. And after that, it's just like a fun, mingle, enjoy your time kind of celebration.
So it's who's who amongst special education and highlighting and sensitizing people also, right?
Yes.
So all those different schools and programs for special ed persons should be in attendance to this.
We're hoping that they be in attendance. And we would have reached out. And so right now we're just asking for more support. And we didn't put any pressure on anyone. So
you call the Prime Minister's wife. The office of the Prime Minister's wife and say, "Ma'am, we have some tickets."
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we still have a lot of tickets. We want a full house that day. Like I said, it's just a whole celebration of just being diverse, just being an individual, just accepting anyone for who they are. Yes.
Okay. So how much are the tickets?
So each ticket is $75. That covers the food, most of the drinks.
So you get some drinks included? I didn't know that. Normally I just pay for drinks, but I appreciate you giving me some
Like
drinks.
when I say drinks, I mean like fruit punch.
Okay, I understand.
But if
I understand.
But other accommodations will be made for that night for those who like
libations.
Yes.
My wife like libations.
Whatever,
Okay, I just
it's
need to
an
make
adult
sure.
affair.
Whatever she like, we got.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
We also have, live entertainment. We have a band. We also have a DJ. So it's a good mixture of everything. Just come to be entertained.
What type of, you say you have a band, what type of music and dancing should I be prepared for? Should I put on my heels so that I could slip off easily when it's time to rake and scrape?
Okay, so let me tell you, it's a formal event.
Yes.
So we starting off real calm, real nice, real elegant.
Yes.
But we know we bring those big bags with the slippers inside.
Yes.
So that when we're ready to tuck those heels away.
Oh, interesting.
Hot sauce and heels, Cecil, I know that.
I understand.
So like I said, we're going to start off soft, and then after we would have celebrated our honorees, then we're going to have like, what do you say at the end of our?
A soiree.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes, it's
It's a soiree. Isn't it fair?
And we have prizes.
Prizes too.
Yes.
Okay, I like prizes. Good. So expect a full event with live entertainment, dancing, prizes and surprises. Who's who in the community? Who's who in the special needs? Highlighting that, right? Sensitizing Bahamians about special needs community and support. And again, remind me, what is the funding for?
Okay, so I'll tell you some of the things we really need. When we started off, we wanted to solicit funds for transportation. And I think that was a huge goal.
So you still need a bus?
We still need a bus.
Oh, Lord, you still need a bus.
all right. How much have you raised so far, and what's the target for the event? Not okay. So we've raised not enough so far, and the target is we're gonna need plenty. But I love it.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
I appreciate that translation so much.
So the event needs to be successful. It needs to be
Yes.
well attended to, and the goal right now is to at least use, if not all the money, majority of the money to at least get the bus.
Yes.
And I remember last time you were here, and you were talking about children who coming from all the way east and all the way from Adelaide to
Yes.
try get to your school.
Yes.
And if a bus would help in terms of, because some kids come 12 o'clock and the school starts at 9.
Yes, literally.
Trying to get to the institute. So a bus could go and pick them up.
Are you guys lobbying with the sort of Jitney Association and the government to figure out how we can get more mobility buses and special buses on regular routes to support the service that you're trying to offer with the bus?
That's more technocrat. We need to lobby the government. These are principals in school. They just they basically teach and promote.
I know, but I'd take this as an opportunity to reach out to
We
the
need to reach out.
Association of Jitney Drivers to say, hey, please consider purchasing mobility and accessibility buses when you are renewing your fleet
Nice. Yeah.
to support this community people who use the bus as well.
Good. Good. So remind me again of the dates.
Okay, so the
And then Aaron and I will be going back and forth on who we can guilt and making sure these buses are equipped. You know?
Yeah, and the other support, not just guilt, I like that, bait as well is a good word, but to encourage and compel stakeholders in the community to help fill the gaps. So not just the bus, not just the school, but what are the services and businesses that we need to support this work, to support this community, and to support these processes?
Yeah, definitely.
yes.
But just remind me about the date times and who again I need to call and say, hey, did you get your ticket yet?
Okay, so it's this Saturday, that's June 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Police Conference Hall, that's headquarters, East Street Hill. And who we need to call? We need to call anyone, but I have 2 tickets here for giveaway to start off.
Good.
And we could probably offer like a little trivia. But I also wanted to share too, apart from transportation, we also wanted to see how we could provide certain services to our students. For example, with a physical therapist, speech pathology, we have a few in the ministry, and there's sometimes people would offer their service, and so you would want like a little stipend to give them when they would provide the needed service, because we do not have anyone there at the school to provide that service on a regular basis, although we can provide. Make sense? And so it's just trying to build and grow Marjorie Davis is what really the ball is geared up for.
The next level.
Yes.
And we're talking to Ms. Zen Roll, who is the principal at, let me try to pronounce his name again, the Marjorie Davis Institute for Special Needs.
And you know what? I think this will be a great time for us to learn more about Marjorie Davis. So you can remember the school is named, so you know our school patron, Marjorie Winton Teresa Davis, and we probably can ask a trivia when you're ready. And maybe someone could share more about Marjorie. And we have the information. And
You send me the information.
Yes.
You send me the
Yes.
information, and what I'll do is, instead of the day, I'll have tomorrow being Marjorie Davis Day, because we have Mash Down
Awesome.
Wednesday, and we'll have entire questions based on her, and to remind people again
About-
that Saturday.
Yes. So
7
I'm going to
p.m.
leave these tickets
Yes, yes. And I still appreciate what you're doing for the Bahamas. And people tend to forget that the school exists, and it's on through DeVoe Street, is it?
Yes.
It's DeVoe Street, which is off East Street. It's a specialized school with professionals who bridge the gap for children who are having challenges in the regular school system. So the team there basically do an intervention to prepare these children to return, am I being correct?
Yes.
To the regular school program, right?
So yes, they do matriculate back into the general population after they would have successfully completed their intervention program. In the past, the program would have lasted, say, for academic school year. But after the pandemic, we had to look at what we did and, I guess, provide some changes. So in some cases, the children needed a little longer time. And so the case probably would have been there a year and a half. We have a few who would have, they would just be leaving after the pandemic because the virtual school was really rough for them. And so we wanted to make sure that when they return, that they were independent enough where they could understand what works best for me as a learner and what I need to advocate for. So what we try to do is make the student more accountable to advocate for themselves. For example, now you would find that those who are ready to return could say, can you show me? Or can you tell me what do you want me to do? So we're trying to instill in them how it's all right to ask questions and how to advocate for yourself along with the skills we're training them. And it's like a lot of repetition and a lot of self-esteem building, confidence building, so that they could take ownership of their learning, really.
Two questions. I may have missed the answer to the first one, but let's start with the second one. Do you need volunteers? And what do I have to do as a member of the public to prepare myself to come and volunteer at this facility or to come and work at the facility? And the second question is, how do I know whether my child needs to come to the Marjorie Davis School?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question. Yes, we do need volunteers. However, we ask the volunteers to go through the process and sending their name and just conversing with me so that I could forward that information. You know, you want to follow protocol.
Yes.
So that my supervisors are aware of what it is we're doing and who's on the ground. We try to ensure that whoever is assisting our students, that they're vetted, first of all, and that everyone understand the goal that we're trying to achieve. The next thing, once again, when special services would recommend their students, they probably would have done all the necessary steps in terms of assessment and reaching out to the parents. So when we get the child, I would follow up with that parent. Sometimes even if they would deny coming, I still would call and to see how best I could persuade them to come. And once the parent would commit, we would fill out the application, you know, the enrollment form, and we go through the steps. And then we would do some assessments to design the best intervention for that child.
All right. Now, for homeschoolers, for people who've decided to homeschool their kids, is there a mandatory assessment process for kids that are not in the formal education system? And what are my options? You know, what's available to me if I'm a homeschooling parent and I think that my child may require an assessment to determine if they need special support?
So I would speak for Marjorie Davis, and then the other special services would have to, because it's like a thin line. So the Marjorie Davis can do what is called an academic assessment with retrain. And that assessment would just tell you, okay, this is your functioning level for reading or math, okay? And that would give whoever a clear indication of where I need to start for that child. So it's not a full assessment like a cycle evaluation and all of that. Okay. That's special services. However, you're going to find that the kids, the target students to come to Marjorie Davis, only really need an academic assessment because they could benefit from that short-term intervention. Yeah.
Okay. Activities for kids to support capacity building and academic strengthening. Some recommendations for parents. What are things that you could do, fun and educational things, skills building things?
Okay, that's sort of wide and open, but I'm going to try my best. I usually tell parents there's simple things you can do. I think now we need to ensure that the social skills are acceptable in terms of from very young, from 1, from 2. We need to really speak to our kids in sentences, talk to them, and let them know what you expect from that child, okay? Because really and truly, those behavioral concerns would eliminate a lot. And once that child behavior is intact, they're ready to receive whatever you present. And so parents need to let kids know their boundaries. And you can give kids boundaries far more than you shouting, spanking, you know, along that line. So from very young, we tell them to make sure that their communication skills are intact, and that will come from you conversing with that child. It's all right to give kids option. Of course, you're going to control those options, but make that child aware that, hey, what I say is also important. Okay, and then especially if your child is having difficulties expressing, you probably want to add pictures and give your child time. That, sometimes we rush kids up, oh, you never know what to say, but allow that child to see what makes sense to them. And if they're having some difficulties, then you and that child need to, okay, now, you will not probably draw out their difficulties, but you'll find a way to support it so that they know now, hey, it's all right to get this support.
Help them make those connections.
Right. And another big area is just, we have to do a lot of things with our hands. We just think that doing things with our hands is what writing. But I encourage parents, let them mess up with the paint, let them use the clay, let them play in the sand, because you're going to find that the bones in the kids from under 4, they're really not ready to grasp those little pencils. So we're asking, let them mess up, let them play cook, let them make pancakes. All those social things, that's why I say social things, those everyday things, will help prepare them for school.
So as we transition, and thank you very much for coming, especially last minute. Ms. Seymour, how was the success stories? Hearing good success stories?
Yes. My readers who were struggling are now readers.
Yes.
I'm so proud of them. Listen, you don't know.
Do you need books?
Yes.
Good.
What type of books? Don't be asking. I'm like,
Okay.
I mean, it's normally like primary school. So what, regular books?
So I can't really say regular books, but leveled readers would be the best because we have students that come in at various different levels. Those leveled readers will be able to meet them where they're at, like I said earlier. But honestly, any books, obviously, because now my kids, they are now being able to
Read, just going through the books.
Listen, I am so chapter books. My kids, some of my kids are reading chapter books. Some of my kids are still, what's the word I want to say? They're still developing those skills, but they're much improved from the beginning of the school
You
year.
get so excited when you start talking about the
Because
kids.
I love my students. Listen, I don't have any children, but when they walk through my door from 8:45 to 3:15, they're mine.
Now, for parents who can't seem to get their kids to let go of the tablet, right, and are concerned that the tablet is the reason for the learning delays or the behavioral issues, are there apps that they can force their children to interact with to begin to create a shift?
Well, there are some apps, but it still goes back to control. I'll tell you what's been happening at the Marjorie Davis Institute. So the teachers would allow kids to bring their tablets, and it's more controlled. We have them on 3 different apps. One is iExcel. Parents could have, they have access to it. And iExcel is very thorough and is a pace setter, kind of, and it's just the word Excel. And then another one is the Success Maker. That's from the Ministry of Education, where it tracks their literacy and numeracy. And so after we would have get them engaged, they're able to follow through at home. And so these are some of the apps with parent-kid control. In some cases, you could sign up for free, like the ABC Mouse. And iExcel is more where you pay, but it's a small payment. And Star Falls also is free.
Okay.
And it takes them from basic preschool straight up to grade 3. So once you allow them to go on to YouTube, it's hard for you to take them away from YouTube unless you go into settings and you sort of limit all access.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so Saturday, June.
Do I need to bring a dancing partner, or can I find one
Dance with
at
me.
the ball?
You can dance with me. You can come and dance with me.
Listen,
Guys, dance close though, Erin. I'm just letting you know. You can come and dance with me.
My heels sharp.
I'm just letting you know. Okay. Go ahead. Saturday, what time again?
So it's Saturday, June 3rd at 7 p.m. And doors open from 6:30. Okay,
6:30.
yes.
Good.
Awesome.
And the place again?
It's the Police Conference Hall. That's
Headquarters
police
on
headquarters.
East Street.
Yes, on East Street.
Price for the ticket?
$75.
Where do I get tickets from?
You could get it from the Marjorie Davis, or you could win one tomorrow.
Yes. So Marjorie Davis, which is located on DeVoe Street. The phone number to call? Please.
815-3276.
Give me that again.
815-3276.
Okay, and I just call and say I need a ticket. I need a couple of tickets.
And I have some other numbers then. 323-0361 through 5.
Good. Good. And I was speaking to Ms. Zena Roll, who is the principal at the Marjorie Davis Institute, and also I was speaking to the lecturer or teacher. What do you call yourself, Ms. Seymour?
Just a humble servant.
The humble servant. The humble servant. Intervention specialist. Ms. Seymour. Ms. Seymour, what's your first name?
Ariel
Seymour. And they were here to basically promote what they do at the Marjorie Davis Institute and also say that the Harmony Ball is this Saturday, 7 o'clock.
Going down.
It's going down and they need your support. And they're trying to get that bus and more resources there to
And also, too, sometimes they need a little reminder. I know we said we were going to have some honorees. And I also want us to celebrate the honorees because you're going to find out that the honorees would have spent 30 to 40 years advocating for special education. And I think we also need to celebrate them as well.
You want to call any news? You know any news?
Man, I want to, but committee can't.
But what I would say, though, is that as a young educator, it was a great experience learning about these people who came before me because I did not know. Being on the committee actually made me appreciate special education and special services in the Bahamas way more than when I first came. So the honorees, should we announce them? Should we announce them right
I
now?
want to know who they're celebrating.
Go on. I think so.
Okay, so off the top of my head, we have Right Honorable Perry Christie.
Yes.
We have Right Honorable Hubert Ingram.
Yeah, okay.
We have Miss Sybil Blyden, sorry. We have Dr. Carolyn Hanna. And we have Dr. Hall Nose. We have Mrs. Sharon Dean Lang. We have Mr. Sterling Gardner and Mrs. Sheila Culmer. Those are our 8 honorees.
Nice.
Mrs. Sheila Culmer?
Yes.
Mrs. Sheila
You know Sheila Culmer.
Yes, that's
That
the one
means
I
you
know.
have to come now.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I
She used to be the principal of Stapleton many years.
Okay. So these are people well deserved. And I see we got a text here, and I want you to respond to this person. Okay, Aaron, you read that, and then
right.
you respond to that.
Good morning to you and your guests. Thank you for this information. I have a 4-year-old daughter that was diagnosed with slight autism. She knows her numbers, letters, shapes, and colors, and sight words very well, but she's very afraid around other people other than her peers. She also struggles at times to put her words together. What is your recommendation, or how can I book a consultation with you or an assessment for my child?
Okay, so thank you. Well, you could call that number listed, 815-3276, ask for Mrs. Enroll. I try my best not to give general advices because you're going to find that each child is different.
Yeah.
But because I'm going to ask, I want to ask more questions before I give. For example, how many in your family is the child used to being around others? Sometimes you find that kids with autism, they come from a larger family and they pretty much sort of pick up on some of those skills, interacting with others. And so that they may not need as much intervention for that social skill. And so I really would want to ask that parent, is she used to being around adults in the family? And then I could probably say, okay, it's just her meeting strangers for the first time. And then you probably want to start to transition having those talk where you tell that child about what it is you do when you meet a stranger. Then you want to show them videos. The video modeling is the best, I find, for kids, where they actually have those role plays on YouTube. And so you could look for them and show the autistic child, what it is you do. And so they'll pick up a lot from the video modeling and from simulation. So where you recreate what it is you do, okay?
Okay, thanks. And thank you very much, Ms. Zen Rowell, again, and of course, Ms. Seymour. Do you have any other questions for them, or we let them go so we can continue our conversation on what we need to be doing to help support special needs and persons who need extra support?
Let them go back to work.
Let them go back to work. And thank you very much for
Insurance
the
mistake.
powers that be who allowed them to come in the middle of the day to say, let's do this interview. But thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
The producer could patch through that commercial break. We're going right to the commercial right now, okay?
I'm sure the holiday has been disruptive enough for kids in the institute. Yes.
Yep. Radio A.M. with CA Newry, and thank you very much, Aaron Green.
Love the show? Want to give your support? Become a sponsor today. Call 302-2300 for our rates and packages. That's 302-2300. Become a sponsor on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
Beulah gal, can you believe this? We are now the patrol queens of the neighborhood.
We now large and in charge. So we need to check out what's going on in everybody's yard. What about that gun that we know that Junior and his homeboys just ran out? Can we report that too?
Of course we can.
But we could be in deep trouble if they find out.
We need to report what we see, Beulah. When you call Crime Stoppers, they just answer your call in Miami.
So then we can report everything? Guns, where they hiding the drugs, who shoot who part of which gang, or who disturbing the peace with the loud music and the motorcycles.
Then our neighborhood will be the best in the Bahamas, and everybody gonna want to come live here. And then our house price will go up, gal.
So what we waiting on? What's the number?
If you see something, say something. Let us all pitch in and stop the crime before it's your time. Call 328-8477 from Nassau or 242-300-8477 from the Family Islands. Or text us through the Crack Crime Bahamas app. Stop the crime before it's your time.
Welcome back to Guardian Radio on the A.M. with CA Newry, and I enjoy that conversation. Every so often we tend to forget that there is the Marjorie Davis Institute right there on DeVoe Street there, and I was happy that they reached out to me again and say, hey, you remember us? Because, you know, I say, yeah, I pledged to be involved, especially for special needs children who need our additional support. And since they have an event coming Saturday, I said, man, come, I'll make space for you. And I wanted to continue the conversation on making space. I know we have the Bahamas game happening any minute now, and I'm excited about it. I'm hoping that they do come on the show soon to tell us what all of the great events that is happening, right? And I remember one time Aaron asked me, are they going to have any special needs races, right? And I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I, in general, especially when you speak about involving and accepting, even in terms of when you're traversing the road. I've seen our sidewalks. Yeah. And I'm saying, what about the disabled communities traversing our roads? Should we make space for them? Mm-hmm. Handicap parking, going into government offices. Is there a need? Should we be emotionally and spiritually connected and committed to making a space for Bahamians to just thrive?
I like how you turn to spiritually and emotionally, right? Committed. I would prefer to start with our legal and ethical obligations to members of the community, right? No taxation without representation is a great place to start. People with physical disabilities and intellectual disabilities are, first of all, whole citizens. Their difference, right, or disability does not render them less of a citizen, less deserving of access to national resources and natural resources and national benefits, right, for being a citizen. The second thing is many people with intellectual disabilities and with physical disabilities, they work, they generate an income, they pay taxes, right? And so they deserve to be represented in the nation that they are a citizen of and they work to build.
So how do we champion this, Aaron? Because like I was saying earlier, I tend to forget.
Yeah.
I tend to forget. Like this is important as the Marjorie Davis Institute, right?
Yeah.
I forgot that they're there. I was just happy that role. Say, hey, you remember me? And I say, oh, yes, I remember I made a pledge.
We could start with small actions in our limited personal spaces, right? Like the first thing I say to people is stop parking on the sidewalk. First of all, pedestrians and regular people who just walk and use the sidewalk.
Let me stop parking on the sidewalk, Aaron.
Stop throwing your car on the sidewalk in front of buildings because you are lazy is an impolite word. but you are so frustrated with your current circumstances that you can't figure out how to park your car somewhere safe and walk to the establishment that you're going to. This goes for private vehicles, corporate vehicles, commercial vehicles. In the town planning process, these things should be assessed. Is there enough space for the amount of traffic you expect to be coming to your business? Because we, the police, are supposed to give tickets to people that park their vehicles on the sidewalk. Stop blocking the pedestrian crossings and the access ways to the sidewalk, where you will see there are ramps, there's slopes, so that wheelchairs and motorized wheelchairs and mobility vehicles can safely access the sidewalk and the pedestrian crossing. Stop blocking those with your car, Church and Bay Street, right? We can lobby to our peers to stop parking in disabled parking spots if we don't have a disabled parking sticker, and to stop blocking the access and mobility spaces next to the spots. Right? These are small actions we could take in our personal lives to begin to support and acknowledge, right, the commitment we must make to these members of our community.
What about employment, right? Because we know we had the Center for the Blind on our show once or twice, right?
Yeah.
And they prove that they're capable and can be employable. But how can the general public, these business organizations, these institutions, make themselves more readily accessible in terms of
employment?
Employment, yes.
Right? Well, first of all, you got to make your businesses accessible. So if you have employees with visual impairments or visual disabilities, then you need larger signs. You need screens with larger fonts and larger images, right? As something as simple as that, you need to make the space accessible to them. If you're sending out notes to your employees in the department, right, then send out their notes in a larger font. You just make a separate set. You copy in the same document, but with a larger font for those people with visual impairments. Accessibility ramps, the same requirements by law for access by customers should also be available to staff, right? There should be a disability access bathroom in all establishments. Right? There's all kinds of technology available to incorporate people with visual and hearing disabilities into the workplace. It's just a matter of businesses investing in those, right?
But it seems so simple. Like, especially how you explain it, it doesn't seem there's much effort that much.
That's because I didn't talk about the money part. I think, and the only barrier is an unwillingness to spend a bit more money to incorporate and include other members of our society.
I remember there's a quote that says, society will be judged by the way you treat your elderly and those who are incapacitated or some sort of...
Right, the weak, the elderly, those who can't take care of themselves, absolutely.
And it's telling, especially when you traverse the Bahamas, right, how we respond to those who has challenges, right? Especially when you see that the sidewalk has a hole in it, and not no small hole that you could stumble. But if you walk in this hole,
you could break your foot.
You could break your foot.
Yeah.
And it's not like it just happened like a week ago and then we haven't had chance to fix it. But years, there's been a gaping hole on the sidewalk. In fact, the persons who made the sidewalk made it constructed with the hole because it's square. It's a shaped out square. They just didn't finish it, right?
Yeah.
And months and years goes by and no one has indicated that this is a problem, especially for the vulnerable amongst us.
Well, I think people are indicating it, particularly members of these communities, people with mobility access and mobility issues, they're indicating it all the time. In fact, I have a friend, a cousin named Kaylisa, who was hit she's using a motorized vehicle. She's on the side, she's in the road at the edge of the road, right? She gets hit by a jitney. She was found guilty.
She was found guilty?
Right. And she's trying to explain to the judge that I would use the sidewalk if there was a sidewalk. I would not have been in the road if there were verges or if there was a accessible and traversable sidewalk for me and my motor scooter.
But let me ask you this question. Are you saying that it's illegal for a person who's handicapped, who's using a motorized vehicle, a wheelchair, to be in the road, that they're supposed to be on the sidewalk?
Well, I think they are supposed to be on the sidewalk. They're not supposed to be in the road. I'm not sure if those are licensed or if they are licensable to be in the road. But in the absence of actual options, these people are brave and they use the roadway. They're respectful. They're on the side of the road. They're not in the middle of the road because they have to get where they have to go because they also have bills to pay. But even if they didn't have bills to pay, they are humans who are deserving. They have a right to a social life. They have a right to work. Right? They have a right, the freedom of movement. And the state has an obligation to ensure equal and equitable access. Don't just say, well, everybody got to use the sidewalk with the hole in it. You know that some people can't use the sidewalk with the hole in it.
And I'll end with that. I appreciate that. This reminds me of our friend Karen. What Karen's last name is?
Karen Jones. I'm going to share that information again tomorrow.
She needs help and support, and the Bahamian people need to come to her rescue. Anyway, this has been Guardian Radio on the AM with CA Newry. Thank you very much, Aaron Green. Have a beautiful and wonderful day. Bye-bye.